This is Duke University.
Selma was part of a gang of friends who were passionate about the world, and they were passionate about life. And for them, art and poetry and music and political engagement were all part of the same fabric. So before World War II started, Selma and her friends spent a lot of time worrying about the world. And they worried about right-wing populism. They worried about the rise of fascism. They worried about Hitler's influence. And they worried about the influence in Romania, because as Selma was growing up, beginning in the late, I would say, mid to late 30s, there was an increasing Romanian nationalist movement in Czernowitz, which was the town she came from and which was under Romanian control at that time. Both Anne Frank and Selma were murdered before their time. Both were young people of great talent and great possibility, who, because of their innocence when they died, are heartbreaking symbols of a world gone crazy, a world gone amok. But Selma and Anne Frank had that, I think, a similar passion for life and a concern about the world, but it was expressed in different ways. Anne Frank wrote a diary, and Selma wrote poetry. Selma's poetry talks about the two great forces that shaped her life. One was, don't forget, she wrote these poems when she was 15 to 17. One was love, and she did have an unrequited love, and that's expressed very clearly in several of the poems. But she was also writing as her world was caving in on her, as hatreds were stalking her and her poetry, and that's reflected as well. She wrote this poem called Grief. Haggard, hungry horses standing there, oozing steam with empty eyes, soaked through, scattered on the moistened ground, oats now serve no useful purpose. Drenched from head to toe, a cat creeps along the moldy wall. With his collar raised, a farmer looks at his money. Will it see him through? I'm a specialist in Latin America, and I've written works on the Inca Empire and colonial Peru. And my interests have been around issues of power and how they're expressed in cultural ways. I hope I did justice and tried to think about those questions as I brought them to my study of Selma. Now, the study of Selma, honestly, came out of the blue. As I said, my mother is Selma's closest living relative. We knew she was a poet, and the family had contributed to a private publication of her poetry. But it really wasn't until my mother was invited to Czernowitz, to Czernivtsi, Selma's hometown, when the city government, along with a university professor and Austrian literati and a professor from Germany, put a plaque on her tenement door in her honor. And my sister and I were humbled by that, to realize both our own ignorance and to realize the richness of our lives that we had missed over the years. And that was part of our interest in translating Selma into English and to be sure that to hope that her work would then be available to a wider audience. We learned that biology is very cheap. It's cheap to have a genealogy. What really counts, how you really make kinship with the past, is to worry about, think about, love, get angry at the people who came before you. And that's what we wanted to do.
Produced by Duke University. Online at duke.edu.